I feel the most happy and confident in my body when I am physically active on a regular basis. And also when I'm working towards a goal that has some sort of physical element and mental element, like dedication, makes me feel happy and confident in my body. And being around people that love me for my whole person. So not just my physical appearance, although I think that is part of it, but also what's inside in my heart, in my mind, in my soul.
I would say that I kind of compartmentalize the mental and the physical because I love speaking engagements. And so I do speaking engagements a lot. And when I'm on stage, I feel strong. I feel empowered. I feel connected to the people that I'm speaking to. And all of that makes me feel strong. That makes me feel really good about not just my body, but who I am, because I'm like, man, I am doing my work in the world and I'm connecting with people. And regardless of how tight my dress may be or how much my ankles are begging me to take those damn heels off, I kind of block that part out and I'm focusing on who I'm looking at in that audience or that setting. And that is honestly when I feel strong and seen and sexy and empowered because I'm doing what I love to do.
Hi, I'm Peavy.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Blank is a Mother podcast.
We are two toddler boy moms that have been best friends since college, and we are here to share our unique motherhood journeys through a comparative lens.
And we all say we're not supposed to compare, right? But clearly we know that's not realistic.
Because the first few years of motherhood shook our lives and friendship like no other experience has.
And by comparing and contrasting our journeys, we've discovered the strongest threads of sisterhood yet.
We don't have all the answers, and we sure have made some missteps.
So we invite you to follow along as we do our best to nurture our friendship while making 1,000 tiny mama decisions in an unfair world.
Hi, I'm Peavy.
Hey, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Blank is a Mother podcast.
Today, we're going to be talking about body image is a mother. So, Jay, first, we're together in person.
Woohoo! Peavy came to sunny South Florida, and it's great. So we get to look at each other.
Yeah, it is so good to see you and hug you and love on you in person.
I feel the same way. Thank you for making the trip cross country.
Absolutely. Of course. You know, I wouldn't miss it. But yeah, no one has heard from you since, or us, I guess, since your surgery. So I wanted to take a few minutes at the beginning so you can give everybody an update.
Oh, thank you, Peave. I am happy to say that I am 100% cancer-free.
Yay.
Thank you. That the option that I went with was a double mastectomy with reconstruction. So I've now had the double mastectomy part, and they were able to, thankfully, get all of the cancer out through that process. They did biopsy my lymph node, and thankfully, the cancer had not spread to my lymph nodes, which means I do not require radiation or chemo. Chemo was never on the table. Radiation was on the table. And thankfully, that is not an option. So, woohoo! I've gotten through the double mastectomy part. I'm feeling good. I'm progressing well. I have a lot of range of motion in my arms and my chest. I'm smiling. I'm good. I'm not going to lie. It whooped my tail the first week. It was a little brutal, to be expected for such an intrusive surgery. But I have an amazing medical team. My oncologist is great. My oncology breast surgeon is amazing. My plastic surgeon is amazing. So God is good. I'm healthy. I was actually recuperating in my bed for my birthday. So my 43rd birthday was October 2nd, and my surgery was the 26th or 27th of September. And someone asked, was this your worst birthday? And I said, no, it was my best birthday, because all of this has been a reminder that we are all on borrowed time, and any experience that we have in life is just part of our testimony. It's a test so that we have a testimony to give. And thank you, Khalid P. Brown, for that. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm inspired. I'm encouraged. I feel so loved and supported and healthy. And we're ready to rock into my next birthday. We keep rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And LJ has been so sweet because he knows that mommy has a boo-boo. And he says that we have to be gentle with mommy. Yes, you do. And he's been very, very supportive in his 3-year-old way. And shout out to John, too, for being an amazing partner.
And
Parents
the Beals.
came in town. I was just about to say, my parents came in town for 3 weeks. They are, I mean, you can't beat the Beals. They're amazing. Bestie's coming in town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, PV flew all the way across country. Tiff came in. My Longwood crew sent a singing telegram, which was amazing. I hated that I couldn't dance as much as I normally would, but it was amazing. Meal trains set up from girlfriend Caroline. I mean, laundry service set up. Everybody has been amazing. Flowers from Chanel. I mean, just everybody. I feel loved and supported. So thank you to my friends and family and community and neighbors.
Yes, you have a huge community, a huge support system, which is awesome.
Thank you.
But you have also such a positive and cheery and joyful outlook on the whole process. And I honestly didn't know, Tiff and I were talking about this because we overlapped for a day, which was really wonderful. You know, she picked me up from the airport and I was like, so what am I walking into? Like, what's going on? You know, how's Jamie? And she said, she's Jamie.
Aww.
And I said, only her. And she said, I know. So yeah, both of us were not sure what we were going to be walking into. And of course, you're just smile on your face and peppy and momming it up. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And it really is just all the love and support. Even my brother, he came in town the week before my surgery so that we could have some sibling time to just breathe. My sister-in-law, Katie, encouraged him to come right before my surgery so that we can just laugh and catch up and all of the things because none of us knew how I was going to feel post-surgery. But yeah, I feel great. And Ruth, I need to shout out Ruth too, because she's always in the mix and supportive and coming over as well.
Quick update. Since last time we were talking about baby number 2, you got some kind of good news from your oncologist.
Yes. Thank you for that.
You weren't sure how that was all going to go. So you got some good news.
I did. So she just attended a seminar, just as in like days ago, attended a seminar when they were talking about the effects of IVF hormones. And I should put the disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I am repeating what she shared with me, but I'm not saying that this is on the record as me being the medical expert by any means. I need to put that out there. But what she did share with me, I said, based on what she just learned in her seminar, that there doesn't seem to be an association with the IVF medication impacting my body as it relates to me being now cancer-free. So she gave us the green light to try another round of IVF, to try for one more baby. Now, we are going to try for one more. And after that, that's it. Because I am going to then do an oophorectomy and have my ovaries removed to eliminate my chances of ovarian cancer, which is also a cancer associated with my BRCA2 genetic mutation. So good news that we can try and feel safe doing so. And also good news in that we get to walk through this chapter. It's either a chapter with our amazing, handsome, funny, witty little dude, LJ, or it's a chapter with our amazing, funny, witty little dude, LJ, and another baby, Hal. So we will see. But we will have closure one way or another. And then I can move forward with my other health-related decisions, like an oophorectomy or hysterectomy, whatever makes sense for me at that time.
That's awesome.
Also a reminder of how strong our bodies are. Holy smokes. You talk about trauma to your body, and yet still we rise. Doesn't mean that it doesn't suck, but I look at it like it's temporary suck for long-term health. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Of course.
You have been offline for a while, which was interesting timing because we launched the podcast the day before your birthday.
Woo-woo.
Yeah,
yes,
and our first 2 episodes dropped. And even since then, you know, you've been doing such an amazing job of just focusing on the here and now, your day to day, being present in your healing process and with all your people. And I think that's really commendable. It's hard to do.
Thank you. Yes,
but I have been trying to promote our podcast and do what I can do from my side. And that's been terrifying, but also fun because, we were like, spent all this time, all these months planning what we wanted to do and brainstorming and dreaming and then recording and editing with our awesome team. Then it was time to put it out there. And I was like, what's going to happen? So because, we're sharing our real stories. There are real feelings, our real journeys, and it's hard to put it all out there. So anyway, long story short, I've received a lot of really positive feedback and I've been trying to share it with you little by little. And maybe we can share it to the whole community on our Instagram, but it's been so heartwarming and validating to hear feedback from everyone. Granted, most of these people are folks that I know, or, they're either close friends or family or acquaintances. So hopefully, little by little, people will start sharing with their networks and we'll start reaching broader and broader communities. So
absolutely. And didn't we also get an amazing review from someone that is not associated with either one of us?
We did. Let me read it real quick. I just listened to the trailer, and as a 65-year-old woman, this even resonates with me. For me, time is a mother at the moment. Life challenges don't go away, but our perspectives can shift with awareness and openness to exploring it all. These women are on the right path.
Aww.
How sweet is that?
That's really sweet because I know I have been down many different paths, but I'm glad that somebody thinks we're on the right path. So that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, we love your feedback.
Thank you.
Keep the feedback coming.
Good, bad, and ugly. Honestly, we're open to constructive and positive feedback because that's how we learn and grow and make sure that we're giving you content that you want to keep coming back to. So thank you all for being on this journey.
So we have wanted to talk about body image for a while. It's kind of been one of those topics that's been lingering in the ether for us. And, you and I, of course, have talked about it and with our girlfriends, but we haven't, had our in-depth conversation here. So we kind of have been thinking about this episode a little differently, where we might have some prompts that help us talk through some of this stuff. Yeah. So one of the questions that we came up with to prompt each other is, what was your relationship with your body before having a baby? And how has it changed since having a baby?
It has evolved. Growing up playing sports and being athletic, I feel like I could eat anything that I wanted. I could drink anything that I wanted. And we were working out so much that I was fit. I was really fit. We all were. We were hooping all day, every day. And before that, I was playing soccer. So I was very fit. Right up until the time that I had a baby, maybe 2 to 3 years before having a baby, I'd gained the most weight that I'd ever gained. I just wasn't eating well. I was drinking lots of wine. John and I were eating out all the time. And so even right before we had the baby, I was like the heaviest I had been. I was like, okay. And so I was very conscious when I was pregnant of making sure that I kind of maintained a healthy weight.
Which you did.
I did. Yeah, I didn't gain a lot of weight, but I was eating a lot of things. Clearly the baby was healthy. But I think I was aware of, I'm the heaviest that I've ever been going into childbirth. And I was conscious of it. I don't know if that's good or bad. I just had this image like, I don't want to gain another 50 pounds. I'm already heavier than I've been. Gaining 50 pounds would just be a challenge for me. And I'm 5'2", I'm sure. So there's so many places it can go. But I was very aware of it.
Was it the weight that was like the actual numbers on the scale that was getting your attention? Or was it actually how you felt like in your body, how you were moving around, or like how your clothes fit?
All of the above. So it's interesting. Even my relationship with the scale changed. Growing up, I didn't really weigh myself because as a Black woman, and I'm speaking for me, but probably for most of the Black women that I know, if we were to let BMI indexes that are published out there tell us the weight that we should be, we would all be like 10 pounds because it's really rooted in what white women's shapes are. And so knowing that and being an athlete, I never really looked at the scale numbers and I never really thought about BMI. I just know that I felt good. I was strong. I had a lot of strength. But as I got older, I still wasn't really focused on the BMI stuff, but I became more focused on my numbers because I was watching my body expand. And I was like, well, damn, how much do I weigh these days? And then when I saw the scale, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I guess that's been my relationship with my weight. I wasn't really focused on it until I focused on it. And then after pregnancy, I actually dropped baby weight pretty fast. I was breastfeeding, going through all the things, very cognizant of still what I was eating because I knew that whatever I was eating was going to LJ through my breast milk. So I was really aware. But once I stopped breastfeeding, I just kind of went back to old habits. The way that I saw myself pre-pregnancy is kind of how I started feeling post-pregnancy. I was being very hard on myself with my weight gain and my weight. There were times when I would have to remind myself, Jamie, get it together. This body, in whatever form that it's in, birthed a beautiful baby. You're healthy-ish. You just need to change your habits. You need to get up and exercise and get up and move around, but don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself grace.
It's so interesting that you just said healthy-ish, because previously when you were telling us about your recovery, you were talking about how amazing your body is and how you just recovered. I mean, you're still recovering, but from the really tough part in the beginning, faster than any of your medical team thought you would.
That's true.
And you're in much better physical, emotional state than I think anybody would have predicted, given what we knew you were going to go through. And so would you really say healthy-ish? Ooh. I mean, don't you think that's a healthy ass body that can kick cancer's ass like that?
This is why you need people in your circle to remind you of the power and beauty within you. Because when you said that, I was like, hell yeah, bitch, you are strong. What are you talking about?
And I do feel like that's part of your identity. You would consider yourself strong. But do you separate that mental strength from your body image?
Ooh, I think I do. And I never thought about it like that. I think I do. I think I'm definitely mentally tough. Everything that I go into, I'm like mind over matter, mind over matter. And yet, in the other part of my brain, I'm still like, but I'm the heaviest I've ever been.
Yes. And also hearing you say this is interesting because before we started recording earlier today, we were talking about all the misconceptions around weight and health.
Right.
Being healthy and being a certain weight. Those things, we've been trained in our society, at least Western society in the US especially, that you have to be slim and look a certain way, be a certain weight or BMI or whatever the hell to be quote unquote healthy, which there's been a lot of science now out that does not show any support for that. That you can be heavy weight-wise and still be a very healthy person.
Yeah. And let me be clear when you said slim, because my frame, most Black women frames that I know, we don't aspire to be slim. And I'm generalizing. I'm not speaking for every Black woman, but for me and the Black woman that I know intimately, there's never been, like I need to be slim. Like that word is not in our Black woman vocabulary. I'm naturally curvy. I've always been curvy. It's just a little curvier than it used to be. So I guess that's what it is. But so it's maybe less about being slim, but more so about how your curve's curving. Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you wouldn't be able to use the term slim, what would be the quote unquote unattainable goal for your entire life?
I would just say it's how you feel in your clothes, but curvy. Like I'll give you an example. When I was playing ball, I was the healthiest I'd ever been. And if I listen to the white man's version of what healthy is, it looks like in terms of pounds, for 5'2.5", the white man's definition of healthy is like at 5'2", you should be around 120 pounds. Ain't no way in hell.
You'd be dead.
I would be. I'd be straight up dead. On my frame, my muscular fit, my athletic build, the healthiest that I was, at my healthiest weight, I was like 160, 155, 160. That's nowhere near what the world will tell you is your normal weight. So I never had that 120, 130. In my mind now, I'm over 200 pounds. And I'm like, okay. And again, I'm not saying anything over 200 pounds is huge. For my frame, though, and what I've been, quote unquote, in my mind is a size that's good for me, it's 30 pounds shy of that. But it's also not focusing on the pounds. Mm-hmm. It's focusing on how I feel in my clothes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about other parts of your body image? I guess for you, because you said it was right before you got pregnant, those couple of years before you got pregnant, you felt the shift and you have not had another shift that you are happy with.
Yeah.
So I guess from that shift.
That's a great question. I still feel like I can chase after LJ, who was one of the fastest kids I've ever seen in my entire life. So it doesn't impact my ability to parent, to mother. It doesn't impact my ability to still feel sexy in my skin. I even thought that after my double mastectomy that I would have a reaction when I saw myself for the first time without my natural breasts, because it's a removal of a part of your body. And even with people meaning well and saying things like, well, they're just boobs. It's like, well, I appreciate that that's your perspective and you're trying to be positive, or encouraging, but they were still my boobs and they were a part of my body that has been removed. I thought I would have a reaction to seeing my body differently. And I didn't. I told you, I stared at myself for a while and I thought, your body's beautiful. It's just different. And it has gone through some things and you will be fine. So I actually thought that would have greatly impacted my body image because it is such a part of our body. Mm-hmm. And what some have led us to believe is a huge part of our femininity. I don't agree with that 100%. Yeah, I love the way that you said, like separating, like asking me if I separate out the mental and the physical, because in one breath I'm saying, I'm the heaviest that I've been from pounds and I need to work out and kind of get back into the clothes that feel good and the feeling like my healthier self. And then on the other hand, I'm also saying with support and a reminder that my body's hella strong. Mm-hmm. I've been able to bounce back from all of these things. So I think it lends itself to this conversation that we are really hard on ourselves.
I'm going to share a little bit because I got something.
Yeah, I need to put you on the hot seat. Tell all my business.
Okay, so the prompt was, how did I feel about my body image before having a baby? And then how has it changed since after? So, I've shared on our previous conversations that I was in really good physical shape before I got pregnant. But backing up, like I would just echo everything you said. I don't need to re-say it because I was the same, where I was an athlete my whole life, active my whole life, never had to worry about, what I ate, when I ate, how much activity I was getting. I mean, I was getting so much. It was almost the opposite. Like I had to worry about getting enough calories to sustain the level of working out that we were doing. And even after, even in my post-college life, I was still playing ball all the time and running and just, out surfing, paddling, and then later. So I was feeling strong and fit when I got pregnant. I felt pretty good. I mean, despite I was barfing all the time, I felt pretty good as a pregnant lady and, was happy with where I was at in terms of just my physical being. And then after having a baby, and I think that this is maybe similar for you, that throughout my life, pre-baby, I've also received many, many comments on my physical appearance.
I didn't touch on that. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, a lot of positive reinforcement of what I look like, that it was appreciated in whatever, doesn't even matter what the comment was focused on, whether it was my butt or my legs or how tall I was or whatever, which I think we'll get there later in the conversation about how we feel about that now that we're parents and more mature. But honestly, growing up, if anything, it was just like, oh, that's nice that people are noticing and commenting on how fit I am or whatever, attractive I am. And the other thing is, and this goes back to our weight and healthiness point that we made earlier is that for me, when I am really slim and I do have a low weight, that means something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I have challenges in my life, my appetite goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't eat as much, or I'm just not able to be as physically active. And so I slim down, and sure, I look slim, but I am not healthy, usually physically and mentally. It's like, so that's not a good look for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's just driving the point home that low weight or being skinny does not mean that you're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say now I'm not as fit as I want to be, but I am okay. Like I'm not too critical about my physical appearance in terms of like how my clothes fit and all that. I still feel like whenever I have the time again, which who knows when that'll be, to really dedicate to having a workout routine that I want at the level I want. I mean, I'm pretty dedicated to sneak it in here and there wherever I can, even if it's 6 a.m, or just at least playing ball once a week, or just doing something a few times a week. I'm dedicated to that, but it's still not at the level as I would want it to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure this is for you too. It's not only because I want that for my health and fitness, but it's also such a mental escape for me. Like just to get a good sweat on, just to sit there and only focus on whatever that activity is. It's like a therapy for me. So I'm missing that a little bit, but I kind of know like this is just a phase of my life that I don't have time, and I'll get back to having more time for that later.
Can I add something to
Absolutely.
Something that you said as I was listening to you talk about like the affirmation that you used to get, growing up and people saying, yes, this is great. I think there are two sides to that coin. Even at your most fit and when you're feeling strong, other people will project onto you what their vision of health or whatever looks like. And it goes both ways. You can be the healthiest and people are like, whoa, it's a little too fit. You can get really thin, like you said, and someone like, whoa, you're too skinny. You can be, in your thickness, and someone's like, whoa, you're too thick. So I think it really is imperative that our mental game is tough. So you can kind of let it roll off your back, because someone inevitably will project onto you what their image of your body should be.
Absolutely. So here's the one about my body image. Since I'm not too worried about my weight, and I'm not too worried about the way my clothes fit and how I look in the mirror, like I'm pretty good with that ish. Because what I didn't hear you say is that we getting older, and my wrinkles, girl.
Oh, stop it. I'm looking at your face right now.
Yes. I'm not too critical of myself right now, but I feel that I'm on the cusp of that. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't embrace aging gracefully, as we hope to. And it is something that I am so proud and admire about my own mother, is that she has been such a graceful ager. And I think that whole generation, well, some people in that generation, they don't have time for all that anti-aging business. So, they just live their life and they focus on the things that they need to focus on. And so that's been a very good example for me, just watching my mom age gracefully and just leaning into, she's 77. That's my age. So this is why I look 77, and I've always said to myself, if you don't have any wrinkles, then have you lived? Like, have you smiled? Have you laughed? Have you cried? Have you been worried? Have you experienced joy? Those are features of your face that tell your story of the life that you've lived and what you've overcome and what you've enjoyed in life. But, I'm still human. I'm still walking a line where I still have pictures taken of me that I see, and then still looking in the mirror like, whew, that one's getting deep. And my sister, who's 3.5 years older than me, but she looks like she's 20 because she actually had really severe acne when she was a child. So she has been so diligent about her skincare for her whole life. And this woman does not have one wrinkle on her face. So anyway, it's just something that I didn't hear you even speak of, that we're aging, and that is part of our body image when we are just living our lives. You're like, okay, I look a little older now. And I even notice it with like gray hair, which I, knock on wood, fortunately don't have gray hair. That's something my sister did get. She's got a full head of gray hair. Mm-hmm. I have a couple. But Brett, my husband, when I look at a picture of like, we were looking at Halloween pictures over the years, and the Halloween, whenever it was like one-ish, Brett's beard is completely brown. And then now it's almost completely white. I'm like, well, shit, that happened fast. That was 3 years.
Well, yeah, you got a damn kid running around. That'll age you too.
Yeah. Thank you, Everett, for my ring.
But that is funny because I didn't even think about skincare. I mean, my mom has no skincare routine, and she at 74 has a wrinkle. It black don't crack. So, I mean, that's probably why I wasn't focused on wrinkles. I was focused on what's sitting on top of my lady regions is this little pooch. So my mind went to my pooch over my lady regions. I wasn't even thinking about a wrinkle. But to that point.
Maybe I'm just vain.
No, because no, you're not at all. I mean, I see my face, but my mind goes to like, all right, what's going on in your midsection, baby? What's that? So it's just, again, the things that everybody focuses on something different. I love all these posts of women that are like, I'm in my 60s and I look great and I feel great. And they're lifting weights and they're doing all these things. And I'm like, right on. Mm-hmm. Right on. So I guess speaking of age, though, it's either we just say it is what it is and you just go with it, or it is what it is. And I want to stay on top of it even more than I did in my 30s and 40s. And so some people are like, I'm more fit in my 60s and 70s than I was in my 20s and 30s. It's interesting.
No shade to other people, our age, younger, older, whatever, that need to do other things to feel good in their own skin.
Absolutely.
So I have plenty of friends who use Botox and they get rid of their wrinkles. And I'm like, more power to you. If you've got the money and that's what you can put it towards and that makes you feel good, more power to you.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying, everybody has their own standard of what feels good and looks good and makes us feel sexy. And so the world is so judgmental these days. So it's like, live your life. Do what you want to do. If we aren't out here hurting people, do you, boo. That's the way that I feel.
So one thing we need to mention, and everyone needs to be mindful that is in this category, is that once you are over 40, and sometimes it can be onset even before 40 for women, but usually it's in your 40s at some point, you enter perimenopause phase. And so that can be up to 10 years of experiencing symptoms before you're in full menopause. And this actually might be different for you if you do your oophorectomy or your hysterectomy.
Yeah.
You kind of get thrust into menopause immediately.
Right.
Whereas the rest of us, chickies, will be slow burn for the 10 years or whatever in these perimenopause symptoms, which I feel like are already onsetting for me personally and some of my girlfriends. But part of that is how you keep weight on your body. For example, women, when in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, we just start to carry weight in our midsection. That's just where weight comes. And then depending on your frame, some women are going to also get bigger in their bottom half, or some people in their arms. And so it's just something that we need to be aware of and accept as these are biological changes that happen for women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. And so we need to embrace that rather than trying to change it, because we can't. It's biology. There's certain things you can do to stay active and to try to be as fit as you want to be, but trying to eliminate a whole part of your body because you just don't like the way it's looking in your 40s and 50s. I feel like that's just unattainable and unrealistic, and it's just going to eat at you because you're not able to change it.
It's funny listening to you because I don't know if I'm perimenopausal or not. Like you said, in a couple of years, it ain't going to matter because I'm taking all my lady parts out and then I'll be thrust into the throes of menopause. But I'll have to look into that, understand more about the symptoms of that. Maybe that'll be another episode. We can talk about that, because I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm in that phase. But I can tell you that I do have stuff building around my midsection. So if that's a symptom, then put me in coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be. And alongside that, once you do get into that phase of life for women, you need to change your diet and change the way that you are trying to attain fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like every little detail. And again, you're going to have to like tailor it to your own body. But for example, women in their 40s and 50s and beyond should focus more on strength training than cardio.
Yes.
Whereas I think in our younger years, it's cardio. Oh, you want to drop a couple pounds to fit into that dress or something. You just run a few extra miles for a while and you drop the weight. It doesn't really work like that once we get in our older decades. Mm-hmm. So I think just being mindful of having to make those shifts. Mm-hmm. One thing, as I was kind of thinking about what we want to talk about today, I was thinking about, if we all just have an attainable goal in our minds for what is healthy mm-hmm. for our own bodies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, how would I define that for myself? And so I asked myself the question, where and when do I feel the most confident and happy in my own skin and in my own body? And I think that's a good question for people to ask themselves, because whatever that answer is, that's your goal. So it might not be, like you said, for a Black woman to say, I want to be slim, because mm-hmm. that would be like you're an alien. Mm-hmm. What would your answer to be to that question?
When do I feel my best?
When, where, what are you doing? How are you feeling? Like, what is... You want me to answer first?
Yeah.
Since I had more time to think about it?
Yeah, get on it. Get on it, lady.
Maybe it'll spur some thought process for you. Yeah, so I feel like we've already articulated this both, but I feel the most happy and confident in my body when I am physically active mm-hmm. on a regular basis. And also when I'm working towards a goal. And our journeys have been working towards an athletic goal. Like, I'm going to run this half marathon, or I'm going to try to get on this team for outrigger paddling and do this race, or whatever it is. I want to go to the gym 3 times a week for these next 3 months, or, whatever mm-hmm. that challenge is for yourself, working towards a goal for me that has some sort of physical element and mental element, like dedication, mm-hmm. makes me feel happy and confident in my body. And being around people that love me for my whole person. So not just my physical appearance, although I think that is part of it, mm-hmm. but also what's inside, in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. Mm-hmm. They know experiences that we've shared. So yeah, those are the kinds of things, or if we get like dolled up and go out and I'm feeling good. I'm around my people. I'm feeling happy and confident. And
I love that.
Yeah, like I want to smile and I want to show off this dress I have or whatever, because day to day, as you said, we don't feel like doing that because we're just hanging out with ourselves or our sons or whatever, and our husbands.
Yes. They're in there too. Yeah.
And I would say Brett, I love being around Brett because he makes me feel sexy and beautiful. And even when I'm in my pajamas, mm-hmm. and so I married the right man.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. But yeah, those would be my things that I think about when I think, when am I happiest and most confident in my body, in my skin? When do I feel the best about my body image? Mm-hmm. And those are the things that really get me going.
Oh, those are good. I would say that I feel, and this is interesting because it goes back, as I'm thinking about this, it goes back to earlier when you said, like, I kind of compartmentalize the mental and the physical, because I love speaking engagements. And so I do speaking engagements a lot. And when I'm on stage, I feel strong. I feel empowered. I feel connected to the people that I'm speaking to. And all of that makes me feel strong. And that makes me feel really good about not just my body, but who I am, because I'm like, man, I'm doing my work in the world and I'm connecting with people. And regardless of how tight my dress may be or how much my ankles are begging me to take those damn heels off, I kind of block that part out and I'm focusing on who I'm looking at in that audience or that setting. And that is honestly when I feel strong and seen and sexy and empowered because I'm doing what I love to do. I'd also say that when I'm with LJ, because I was, you triggered this thought earlier that when I'm like, oh, I'm heavier than I used to be and I'm not as active, which are all true, but it doesn't stop me from keeping up with him or like wanting to run behind him, which I probably do a little bit more, run behind him when we're rolling on the floor. Like, I'm like, this is great because he's not judging me for my body. And so why am I, and not all the time, but in certain moments being so critical of my own body when it's not stopping me from interacting very actively with my little one. And John, like the same, what you were saying about Brett. I mean, I didn't know, I had to be mindful of when I had my double mastectomy and like, I didn't know if I was going to have a reaction, but I also have to create space for John, to be in that space with me. It was a change for both of us. And the first time, I took my bandages off and I told you I was kind of looking at myself like, this is different. But John has been very constant and consistent on, you look great, sweetie, and you're so strong and you're wonderful. And like all of these things, all the affirmations. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like,
please tell the chaplain story.
My body. Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay. I have to tell you this. Thank you, Phoebe. Speaking of how other people like to project onto you what they think your perception of your own body should be. So not even 24 hours after I've undergone my double mastectomy and I'm in the hospital and it's the day after. So here comes this man, the chaplain, that's a volunteer for the hospital. And let me just say this disclaimer. This is not a dig at all at the hospital system because they are dynamic. But they have volunteers coming in from certain churches that are supposed to come and pray for the patients. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think I volunteered what surgery I had because I don't think he asked. I don't remember how the conversation started, but it started. And I told him that I had a double mastectomy. And he's like, oh, that is hard on the man. That is so hard on the man. And then he looks at John. So never mind, like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Let me pray to make sure that your chest isn't on fire tonight when you go home. None of those. He then looks at John and it's like, oh, it's so hard on the man. Because don't get me wrong, you can still have sex. But the sex is just different. Like your body is different. That's really hard on the man. Not saying they're not sexually attracted to you anymore, but it's so different on the man. And I'm like, are we really about to have this conversation? Wow. And then the chaplain, again, that's there to pray, says, well, that's the crazy thing about cancer. You can be healthy. And then it takes one gene and one gene to mutate, one cell to mutate, and bam, you could be dead in 6 months. We're like, okay, well, thank you for coming in to pray with us. Thank you for coming in to let me know that you find women that have undergone double mastectomies undesirable for their partners and for feeling really empathetic and sad for the partner that the sex may be a little different. And for letting me know that even though you may be cancer-free now that you've had this double mastectomy, lucky for you, you're going to be dead in 6 months once you get another cell. I'm just like, wow.
You can't make this shit up.
I can't. John was sitting there. We talked about it afterwards. And I will say that when we shared that story with my oncology breast surgeon, he was on not even 10, he was on 20. And while we were sitting there, he called the hospital to ask who the chaplain was that came into that room at that time and to call him.
He's cut off.
Yeah, because again, going through something like that is traumatic in itself, and you know that your body's going to look different and feel different, and you're not even thinking about that. You're thinking, this hurts, and I want to get through this. Mm-hmm. And to have someone that you don't know that is there, that's supposed to be a positive reinforcement for you, then comes in to tell you and your partner just how that could be undesirable for the partner.
Oh my gosh. That is horrible. Mm-hmm. And a good segue to something I wanted to revisit, which is commenting on people's bodies. Because we both shared that people have commented on our bodies throughout our whole life. Mm-hmm. Mostly positive, but some
absolutely positive. Yeah.
Some, critical.
Yeah.
And I will say that there were many, many situations I was in, a lot of which were professional situations where I tried to hide my body, like be less noticeable or stand out, not to stand out. I didn't want that to be a part of the commentary. And I also didn't want it to be or be perceived as a factor in any part of my success. Mm-hmm. This is all kind of in the realm of people commenting on bodies. And I'm not going to be specific about situations, but there's been 2 situations recently that have really bothered me. One was someone commenting on someone close to me who had a baby, actually had 2 babies. And this person who was also very close to her commenting on how, she hasn't bounced back very quickly. And I'm like, And that person not even seeing the reaction on her face and like the slump that came over her body in that moment. Like maybe I was just so acutely aware of the interaction that I was paying attention to her physical reaction and her facial expression. But I was like, this person, it was a male, not aware of that. I know truly in his heart, he was not ill intending. He didn't mean to hurt her feelings. He was just so oblivious about that it's not okay to comment on people's bodies like that, especially someone in a vulnerable state who's postpartum, who I'm sure she's well aware that however many months it had been, she hadn't quote unquote bounced back, and maybe she never will. And that's fine.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be commenting on that person's physical appearance. Instead, why don't you tell her what a great mother she is? That would be nice. And then another one was someone told my niece. They were, again, so well-intentioned, trying to give her a compliment, but commented on her body when they were giving the compliment. And I spoke up because I felt comfortable. I didn't speak up in the first instance, which I wish I had maybe. Mm-hmm. And then in this instance, I did. No one messes with my nieces. And I just said, we don't comment on people's bodies now. I know times have changed and that used to be acceptable, but it's not acceptable. Like, especially a young girl who's coming into her body. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay to say something like, you look beautiful, or I really like that outfit, or, something more general, but to be specific in the way that she commented was not okay. And again, she thought she was giving her a compliment, and she really did. It came from a very, very good place. I know that to be true, but I still had to check her. I feel like I just contradicted myself in the last 45 minutes because I was saying how, it was nice to get these compliments as I was growing up about my physical appearance and how I was athletic or whatever. And then now I'm going to blows for my niece. So,
well, we also didn't have the same societal pressures. We had societal pressures, but I think that's the segue into the social media, because now I think I'm sure I speak for you and me when I say there's a heightened sense of sensitivity around that because of the pressures of social media.
How glad are you that we didn't have social media growing up?
Extremely. Because again, I see even now as a grown woman, you look at stuff and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. So imagine being an impressionable young man or woman, or young person, I should say, that's going through body image related issues for the world to see, and for you to compare yourself against people that are using filters and doing all of the other things.
So glad that we didn't have social media growing up for many reasons, but body image being one of them, because maybe we wouldn't have had the same positive experience that we had growing up because we were athletes and we didn't care about the scale or our clothes or whatever. We just liked being in our own bodies, and we felt confident because of what we were doing with those bodies and in those bodies, not how they looked on a social media feed.
Right.
I see it in the students now, the generations that have come after us, that grew up with or are growing up with social media, and our kids are going to be the same. They are constantly aware of their appearance because anyone could take your picture and post it somewhere. And then it lives there forever and ever. It is hard enough to be a young person. It is hard enough to be a teenager and go through college and come into your own and figure out who you want to be, what your whole identity is going to be, and how it's going to evolve over time, body image included, and then have to have all of those other pressures on top of that. It's a lot. It's too much, in my opinion. Like, it's just too much. There's just too much out there.
Back when we were growing up, I feel like we didn't have the same access to celebrities. We didn't. So if you, had a celebrity that you quote unquote looked up to or that you desired to emulate, whatever that is, you'd wait until you saw them like on an award show or in a music video or something like that, right? They weren't that accessible. Now you can see their skin care routine, their workout routine, whether it's authentic or not, no one knows because nothing is 100% authentic in social media. There's a filter, there's a pause, there's an edit, there's a something. But nonetheless, to young impressionable people, it's like, oh my gosh, I love this celebrity or I love this influencer or I want to be an influencer. And so I need to keep a picture perfect image, a picture perfect face, a picture perfect body, for whatever that is that they think that their body should look like. It's a little scary.
Well, I'm so glad that we got to have a conversation in person. And we have tried to make a commitment. No, we have made a commitment to trying to do this more, be in person.
Absolutely.
I love being able to chat with you virtually, but
there's nothing like in the flesh.
Whole different vibe. I love it.
Thanks for coming to Florida to love on me. PV has been speaking of self-care, y'all. PV has been giving me dynamic back massages every night. I'm due for one tonight, right?
Okay, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate you. So, that's part of it also. It's just making sure that you're surrounded by people that love you and that will pour into you until your cup has runneth over so that you can then turn around and pour it back into them and to other people. So thank you for coming here to Florida just to bless me with your presence, but also just to be the sister that you are. It's been a challenging time. But even you being here, we went on a walk around the neighborhood this morning, sit outside in the gazebo and we were taking pictures, but but anyway, I'm so glad that you were here. Thank you for coming, and we will do this again in person on your turf.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I love being here and getting to spend time with LJ and John too. But you're so inspiring. I mean, being around you. Anyway, outside of this, everyone would agree that you are energy giving, life giving, light giving, which is why everyone loves being around you so much. But in this particular challenging time in your life, so inspiring. Like, I'm going to go home reinvigorated to take on life because of you.
Aww. Don't you start that. Don't you start that. No, look, my eyes haven't sweated yet since you've been here. But
no, it's good. All right. Well, you know how we roll. It's been a while in this conversation, so we should wrap it up. But yes, thank you all for listening. Thank you for your comments and your feedback. We truly, truly appreciate it. Keep it coming. Engage on our Instagram page. We're not super social media savvy, but we're trying. Getting the episodes out there. Yeah, we know that they're long conversations too, but we feel like they're very important conversations to be having. So I hope it spurs, you all to have these conversations with your sister circles and your mommy circles and your besties, just hearing us rap about all this challenging shit.
Yeah, man. Life is lifing. But if you're going to life, which is a blessing when you get to see life again another day, if you're going to life, then make sure you surround yourself with people that you want to do life with. So I love you. I'm glad that we are doing life together. And thank y'all for listening. And what is your saying, Pete?
Call your best friend. I don't need to because I'm with her. But everybody else, pick up that phone. Call your best friend.
That's right. Love you. We'll talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening and being part of our conversation and our inner circle.
Follow us on Instagram, _It's a Mother Podcast. And we look forward to you and your best friends joining us next episode.
Leave a rating on this podcast app. It really helps us get our conversations to more friends out there, more friendship circles, and more women and more mothers. And that's what we're here for, to broaden the conversation, to bring everybody into the circle.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Go call your best friend.